Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to recap my three with a bonus lesson, biggest lessons on what I learned in this 2024 year as a coach from my personal experiences, what I've witnessed from other coaches, and also the great guests that we've had on the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. So let's dive right in. And number one is it's time to evolve as coaches. And it's honestly something that I'm really passionate about. And I want to use language that is a little bit more appropriate, I think, and I think will add a little bit more context into the dialogue of the conversations that is going on. And that's a lot of coaching is outdated. And I think a lot of times we poke the bear and say that coaching is bad, that coaching is wrong. And I just think it's outdated. So I'm a basketball coach, giving context. If you're listening to me for the first time or whatever time, right? This is my third year coaching high school basketball. I'm a JV basketball coach, and I am the director of BTG Basketball, which is a basketball club in Los Angeles. And so this is what I do every single day. And I actually feel like it's a really big benefit to me that I did not play college basketball or professional basketball because I don't have my mind diluted by my past experience. Like I took a break from basketball. So all of everything that I've been learning is really like new and fresh. So I don't coach anywhere near what I was coached like back in high school. And it's time to evolve, right? Every single industry in the United States or across the world, I actually can't talk about across the world. How do we consume movies? We do not go to the movie store and go rent a movie. So why am I going to do drills like the 3-man weave that don't use any decision making? You know, why am I going to, continue to yell at players, like only focus on the X's and O's when we know that if we focus on the mental side of the game, making sure our athletes feel emotionally supported and feel like they belong on a team, then they're going to perform well. So again, if you don't know what skill acquisition research is, constraint-led approach, evidence-based coaching, ecological dynamics, if you don't know all those phrases, I need to encourage you to go look up Transforming Basketball. They do a great job of explaining everything if you're in the basketball world. And if you're not, you could probably just look up all of those, and there's going to be someone in your sport that's pushing that forward. That's the modern way of coaching. And it's something, again, that I'm super passionate about. It's more fun for the kids. The kids actually get better and they see more in-game results. So it's really this style of coaching is a no-brainer to me. It's really hard to change, right? I get it. That's one of the hardest things people have is changing. They don't want to change the way they've been doing things forever. They don't want to change the way they were doing things when they were playing college basketball. The game has evolved. If you go and watch, and this is my last point on this point, is if you go and watch the Cleveland Cavaliers with Kenny Atkinson, Alex Sarama is the founder of Transforming Basketball, and now the head of player development for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, they have a lot of talent. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that they don't have a lot of talent, but one of the reasons they're one of the best teams in the league and competing with the Celtics, who are a juggernaut, who actually Joe Mazzulla does a lot of constraint-led approach and evidence-based coaching, is the reason they're all at that high level is because they're actually doing the research. So it needs to come down to the youth sports level, and I'm really excited to continue to explore that through BTG Basketball and continue giving you all wisdom through the podcast for that as well. So number two, and this is nothing novel, right? This is nothing novel, but I feel like this is the reason that's what really separated me as a coach and what makes players want to come train with me, what makes players want to, play under me is they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And again, I only played high school basketball, but I feel like I could coach with anyone because of my ability to build relationships with kids, with players. Is every time they're coming in the gym, they're getting high fives and knucks, right? I'm asking them about themselves, what do they enjoy doing outside of sport, what siblings do they have, all that good stuff. They know I care about them, and I told them that. I'm like, all right, now that you know I care about you, I'm going to start probably being on you, holding you to higher standards. And that's going to be actually point number 3 that I'll talk about here in a little bit. But this is one that I feel like a lot of coaches really, they say they care, but it's one of my favorite things that our varsity coach, Coach Hodge, says is, and he's been on the podcast before too, is he says love is a verb. So like being a coach and showing us we care about our players it's a verb, right? So we have to constantly show our players we love them, and we have to figure out how our players, want to be, coached. And so that's on us. And then, so number 3, And this has been my biggest kind of lesson that I've learned, and the thing that I've struggled with the most is having high standards and high support, right? Like I just talked about, I'm great with the high support. I'm great with kids knowing that I love them and I appreciate them being on my team. Now, the high standards is where it's challenging for me. I'm not someone that was raised in a house with conflict. And so with that, that's been a lot of my own personal work on it. But in order to have high standards, you're going to have conflict because you're going to have players that are going to not want to reach those standards. But it's up to you as the coach, whether it's your program, you're a trainer, or you're a coach. It's your job to hold them to the standards, right? If they don't want to play up to the standards, they don't have to get play time, right? And if they don't want to, if you're a trainer, they don't want to live, train to their standards, right? They can go train with someone else. You have to hold the standards. It's your responsibility. It's your energy. When you step into the room, right, you set that tone for the practice. And I've had some really good podcast conversations. Mark Davis, who is a soccer coach, I don't know how many episodes that was. That one was a really inspiring one for me because it's our world, especially as head coaches. Even as assistants, though, you still bring a certain energy and have a certain standards that obviously you enforce what the head coach is saying, right? That's one of the number one jobs as an assistant, and making sure that you bring that energy. So having high standards, and I think continuing on having high standards for ourselves. And so this is where I'm going to kind of tie in the bonus point of always learning. So having high standards for ourselves and always learning. So I'm very hard on myself, and I'm telling you, and I'm bringing you all this wisdom that I've learned and learned from other coaches, and learn what not to do from other coaches. But I'm still learning myself. I'm still making mistakes. Like the other day, I'm hyper competitive. I am hyper competitive. So sometimes I get out of character a little bit. I may yell too much at the refs. I may yell too much at my players because I'm so passionate. And yes, it's great to have passion, but you shouldn't be yipping and yapping on the sideline. You need to, demonstrate that you are in control of your emotions for your players. And I don't always do that. So that's an opportunity for me to raise my standards as a coach, also as an opportunity to learn. And then, so talking about learning, that's the biggest separator, in my opinion, from where I'm at. I didn't know anyone in Los Angeles, and I've built a program that is very successful, is supporting my lifestyle and my living here in Los Angeles. I had no connections. I've been here for 3 years. It took me 2 years to really build this thing out because of my constant, obviously, dedication, consistency, but always willingness to learn and separate. What has really separated BTG from other programs is our training philosophy. It's a lot more fun. We get kids results. A lot of programs do get kids results. I'm not going to sit here and say they don't, but we get kids results faster because of what we're doing with, number one, and with the modern coaching, and they're having a lot more fun doing it. So just understanding all those things, understanding the harm that you can have when you yell at an athlete in certain ways. Are you having those positive interactions? Are you letting them know? Like the other day, I took a player out for poor body language, and I was on him. I was like, and I'll tell you exactly what I told him. I said, what value do you really think you're bringing to the team? Right? I phrased it as a question, right? I didn't say you suck, right? I challenged him. I did yell at him. I was very frustrated. We got our butt kicked. And then after the game, I'm like, hey, I won't use this player's name, but I'm like, I know you want to play varsity basketball. That's unacceptable if you want to play varsity basketball. I have to hold you to a standard. He's like, okay, yes, coach, thank you. And I might be lucky that he said that. Some players might be like, screw you, coach. I don't want to play for you anymore. But because he knows I care and I know where he wants to go, right? It's my job to hold him accountable. And so that's been I've been really growing at that the last month. I've been starting to embrace being a leader, because being a leader, I got to set the tone. And so that's been on my process. So it'll be fun really to share with you all throughout 2025 how BTG continues to grow. I'm really, really excited for the coaches that we got coming on and the kids that we got in our program, the families that are in the program. But now you're like, this doesn't have anything to do with me. So I really appreciate you all listening to this episode, to any episodes before. Obviously you're one of the coaches that wants to improve yourself, that because you're taking time out of your day to listen to a podcast or watch this podcast, and that shows me that you want to impact kids. So please go and do it. Go have a huge impact. Coaches had a huge impact on my life. I'm going to have a huge impact on my kids' life, and you can have an impact on the kids that you coach as well. So let's continue to spread the good word, how to be a modern coach, showing our athletes we care, having high standards for them, and continuing to learn. Happy holidays, everyone. Coach Furtado out.